All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Hawk. Welcome to Hawk's Page. It's about 8:30 in the morning on Friday, October 10th. There's too many news stories to keep up with. There's just too much. And certainly as far as like trying to make separate videos for all of these different stories. So I thought I would try something new this morning. I'm just going to go live for 30 or 40 minutes and do a Friday morning news wrap up of everything that's going on. There's a crazy amount of stuff that's happening right now. Overnight, the big news story, I think, is that the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded this morning from the Nobel Committee in Norway, and they awarded the Peace Prize to Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader. I've never heard of her, but it's like I don't know anything about Venezuelan politics other than Donald Trump doesn't like their leader, Maduro. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has built a powerful social movement and has been living in hiding since last year. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize earlier today on Friday, October 10th. The Norwegian Nobel Committee praised her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. Ms. Machado emerged from Venezuela's political sidelines and corralled the country's fractious opposition behind her ahead of the 2024 election, which I heard reports that election was like actually legitimately stolen by President Maduro. I don't know details on that right now, but I look forward to learning more about her, Maria Corina Machado, as well as the most recent elections. So the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, the Nobel Committee, they awarded the Nobel Peace Prize not to Donald Trump, and they awarded it to a Venezuelan woman. First of all, there are a lot of layers to this. Donald Trump is going to lose his mind that he lost this prize to a woman. First of all, don't have any illusions about that. Second, the Nobel Committee awarded the Nobel Peace Prize to a Venezuelan when, over the last several months, Donald Trump tried to summarily deport hundreds of Venezuelans to potentially the worst prison in the Western Hemisphere, Sikot Prison in El Salvador. And that effort eventually failed, and all of those young men had to be returned. That included Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that included Andre Jose Romero Hernandez, the gay hairdresser who was caught up in all of that because he had tattoos for his mom and his dad on his forearm. Most recently, Donald Trump has been summarily bombing and executing Venezuelans who happen to be in boats off of Venezuela's coast, saying that they are drug traffickers and that they are part of cartels. This has been a particularly disturbing set of events because Congress has not declared war on Venezuela. There is no declaration of war. There is no formal authorized use of military force or anything like that. Donald Trump just said, I'm going to blow these boats up. This administration has provided no evidence whatsoever that the people who are being killed in these attacks are actually cartel members or drug traffickers, or that these small boats that they've been blowing up in international waters actually contained drugs, or that they were bound for the United States. And so Donald Trump has been having run-ins in one form or another with Venezuela all year, and now the Nobel Peace Prize Committee has awarded the Nobel Peace Prize to a Venezuelan woman who is fighting against the Maduro administration, the administration of President Maduro. I haven't seen any direct response from Trump, but I did see, let me find it here. So, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung, who looks like Odd Job from the Austin Powers movies, he put out a tweet this morning in response to the Nobel Committee awarding the Peace Prize to Maria Corina Machado. Stephen Chung is a lunatic. He is a caustic, toxic, verbal bomb thrower. He fits in perfectly with the Trump administration. He's just not a good person. He tweeted, President Trump will continue making peace deals, ending wars, and saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will never be anyone like him who can move mountains with the sheer force of his will. The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. That is a remarkably tame and mature tweet from Stephen Chung. I note that it did not contain any profanity or name calling, which is par for the course with him. But, you know, so I guess we could call that the official response from the White House to this. All right, so for everybody who's joined, thank you. We got about 1,400 people in here. It's 8:35 a.m. Friday morning, October 10th. There were far too many news stories for me to do like separate videos about, so I just thought I would go live on TikTok. I started that at 8:30, about 5 minutes ago. And then I'm just going to download this video and put it up on YouTube. I'm just doing kind of a Friday morning news recap, you know, because there's a lot going on. Yesterday, New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted on 2 counts that are related to fraud, mortgage fraud, that kind of stuff. As with the James Comey indictment, it's an incredibly thin indictment. I'll be diving into that later on today. But here's a headline. Pam Bondi was caught off guard Thursday. She didn't know that Donald Trump's handpicked U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan for the Eastern District of Virginia. Pam Bondi didn't know that Lindsay Halligan was going before the grand jury to get an indictment against Letitia James. Pam Bondi was caught off guard. She didn't know that was happening. Lindsay Halligan, who's now the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, she's been in that position for 2 weeks. She's already indicted James Comey and Letitia James. She did not coordinate with Pam Bondi or other leaders at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C., nor did she inform them that she was seeking an indictment against Letitia James, nor did she inform them that she was presenting the case to the grand jury. So, you know, it's a clown car over there, man. Then, let's see, there was one other thing. There was another headline from the Wall Street Journal. The beauty queens of MAGA world, from cabinet secretaries to state legislators, many women in today's GOP have one thing in common. They got their start in public life by winning pageants. Because why bother with things like, you know, education? Let's just go with pageants. Pete Hegseth is waging, this is according to the Daily Mail, Pete Hegseth is waging a war on his wrinkles. Pete Hegseth installed a makeup studio complete with lights and a director's chair at the Pentagon. And now the Daily Mail can reveal that Pete Hegseth has kicked his beauty routine up a notch by getting Botox. The Defense Secretary, 45, he's 45 years old. He looks, that job is aging him. He looks a little bit older than that. Pete Hegseth recently underwent a round of cosmetic injections last month and has been seen with noticeably smoother skin and visibly diminished wrinkles since that time. Good for him. Good for Pete. I got to open this one up. This freaks me out. This article freaks me out. You think about the number of military bases that the United States has around the world. I think we have something like, I don't know, 800 military bases in close to 100 countries around the world. There is no other country on the planet that has a military base in the United States. We don't do that. We don't host other countries' military or military bases. This morning, Pete Hegseth announced, "I'm proud that today we are signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho." So I know that there are some folks who follow me who live in Idaho. For those of you who do live in Idaho, Pete Hegseth signed a letter of agreement, a letter of acceptance for the Qatari government to build a Qatari Air Force Base in Idaho. Qatar is building an Air Force Base in Idaho. That has never happened in the history of the United States. There are no foreign country military bases anywhere in the United States. He didn't say anything in this statement about, does he need congressional approval for this? Does the president know about this? Is this the payoff for the Qatari government giving him a $400 million plane? That's insane. That is completely insane. And Qatar is also the country where all of the senior leadership of Hamas lives in exile. And Qatar, over, I think, a 20-year period, funneled something like $1.2 billion in cash to Hamas. And now Pete Hegseth signed a letter of agreement that Qatar gets to have an Air Force base in Idaho. Why on earth would Qatar need an Air Force base in Idaho? What could possibly be the reason for that? Anyway, I spoke earlier about the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded today from an opposition freedom fighter, a woman from Venezuela. The Nobel Committee chairperson, Jorgen Watney Fridnes, spoke to reporters. One reporter asked him, why didn't Trump win the Nobel Peace Prize? And I thought Chairman Fridnes' answer to this question was perfect. He said, the committee sits in a room filled with portraits of all of the Nobel laureates. That room is filled with both courage and integrity. We only base our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel. Now, when you think about Fat Nixon, Pervert Hoover, Cankles McTaco Tits, Mango Mussolini, Little Donnie Two Scoops, Don von Schitzenpants, when you think of him, I'm guessing that two of the words that don't immediately come to the front of your mind when you envision Donald Trump, I'm guessing two of the words that don't immediately pop up in your head are courage or integrity. Donald Trump is a coward who is completely lacking in integrity. Which reminds me, Stephen Miller is a dickless, naked mole rat and a Nazi. So the government shutdown is now dragging into its third week. The House of Representatives has been in recess for that entire period of time. Last night, the Senate went on recess for 4 days. So nothing's going to happen for the next 4 days. Republicans have adjourned the House and the Senate, even though the government is shut down. Now, the dynamics are a little different between these two bodies. The Senate had continued to work over the last 3 weeks while the House was in recess. The House is in recess while the government is shut down solely because Mike Johnson is trying to prevent a vote I can't remember the name of the motion. There's a motion pending that would force the Department of Justice to publicly release the Epstein files, subject to certain caveats to protect the victims. And Donald Trump doesn't want that vote to happen. And Jeffrey Epstein is simping for pedophiles. He is covering for pedophiles. And he has adjourned the United States House of Representatives while the government is shut down in order to avoid a vote on that bill that would force the DOJ to release publicly the Epstein files. Mike Johnson has also refused to swear in a newly elected from a special election a couple of weeks ago, I think at this point, a new member, a woman from Arizona who took over her dad's seat after he died in office earlier this year, a Democrat, and she would be the 218th vote on that petition, which would force it to go to the floor of the House for a vote by the full House membership. Couple things on this. Eric Swalwell yesterday, I did a video about this on TikTok, where I read a tweet from a United States congressman yesterday on TikTok. TikTok immediately took that video down, gave me a community guideline violation, and I lost the appeal for reading a tweet from a United States congressperson, Eric Swalwell, Democrat from California. House Republicans know that this vote is going to come to the full floor eventually, meaning that they are all going to have to vote publicly on this petition that would force the Department of Justice to publicly release the Epstein files. The MAGA base cares deeply about this issue. They care about this issue for the wrong reasons, but they care deeply about this issue. The MAGA base wants this vote to happen. They want these files to be released because they think that all of the other men who are in the Epstein files are Democrats and people on the left and Hollywood elites and things like that. They're completely unconcerned with the victims. They are completely unconcerned with the fact that Donald Trump's name appears, from what I understand, on almost every single page of the Epstein files. But, so the government is still shut down, and Republicans have adjourned the House for 3 weeks in order to avoid a vote on Jeffrey Epstein files. And the Senate just adjourned at the direction of Republican majority leader Republican John Thune. The Senate just adjourned for 4 days for the weekend. They get to have a nice long 4-day weekend where they continue to get paid, and the government is still shut down. And it's starting to affect air traffic controllers and air travel in the United States. We're like 10 or 11 days into this thing, and it's actually starting to affect Americans and their daily lives. One of those issues is whether or not federal employees are going to get back pay for the period of time that the government is shut down, and particularly whether members of the military are going to get their paychecks. And there is an article in Politico this morning that is titled "Troop Pay is Now in Trump's Hands." Trump is now the only person with the power to keep 1.3 million active duty military members from missing their paychecks next Wednesday, after the Senate failed to act on spending legislation Thursday and then left Washington for 4 days. So they said left Washington for the holiday weekend. Is there a holiday this weekend? What holiday is in like the middle of October? Was it like Veterans Day or Flag Day or Transgender Day? Who knows? The article states that if all active duty troops are not paid on time, that would be the first time in U.S. history that ever happened. Trump has publicly assured service members several times now that they will get their pay regardless of the shutdown. So here's what popped into my head on this. Donald Trump is a transactional president. He is a transactional person. Every single thing in his life is a transaction. Donald Trump is currently trying to get the military to shoot and kill American civilians in multiple cities across the United States. He wants violence. Donald Trump wants dead American civilian bodies in the streets all across the United States. The only way he can get that done is with the military. The military who's about to not get their paychecks next week unless he fixes it. You know, what are you going to do? There's a semi-obscure story that I'm way in the weeds on that I'm going to do a separate video about. But so Larry Ellison, CEO of Oracle, just bought TikTok along with Mark Andreessen. He's a venture capital guy, and some other folks. Larry Ellison has, up until the last election cycle, he has always donated huge amounts of money both to Democrats and Republicans. That seems to have changed. He is also Jewish and a hardcore, staunch Zionist and supporter of Israel, as is his son, David Ellison. So Larry Ellison's buying TikTok. David Ellison, his son, is the CEO of Skydance, which just acquired Paramount and CBS. They own a bunch of other media properties as well, and they're trying to buy Time Warner. So Trump allies are trying to buy up as much American media as they possibly can in order to control messaging and in order to engage in propaganda and in order to wipe out any and all Palestinian Gaza-related content from TikTok, which Bibi Netanyahu admitted on camera last week. As a part of this, David Ellison, Larry Ellison's son, made Barry Weiss of the Free Press the editor-in-chief of CBS News. Barry Weiss used to work at the New York Times. She was a columnist. She quit because they were too woke. And then she started this organization, the Free Press. And I've listened to some of their stuff this year. It is straight up, outright Zionist, pro-Israeli propaganda. And Barry Weiss is, in part, a hardcore pro-Israeli propagandist. And that's who's going to be in charge of CBS News now. I didn't know CBS News was still around. I knew they had 60 Minutes, but I'm going to do a deeper dive on that later on. Dan Rather is criticizing David Ellison's hire of Barry Weiss. Dan Rather was the CBS News anchor for years and years and years. Dan Rather put out a newsletter yesterday or today that said that deal and the hiring of Barry Weiss signals to everyone, especially to the man in the Oval Office, that CBS News is no longer independent, but it is under the tutelage of a conservative billionaire who is putting more than his thumb on the scale. I think that's accurate. I think this is a bad deal. I think it's terrible. Okay, here are four things that I gotta. So there are two Republican governors who are slamming Donald Trump for putting troops in American cities in Portland and Oregon, LA, DC, etc. The Republican governor for New Hampshire and Kevin Stitt, the Republican governor for Oklahoma, are both very much criticizing Donald Trump for using the National Guard and the military in this way. I'm encouraged to see Republican governors getting on board with this. So we'll see how that develops or if that even matters. Peter fucking Thiel, man, tech billionaire. He wrapped up this past Monday a 4-part series of lectures. Each lecture was 2 hours long, and all 4 of those lectures were about the Antichrist. Because, you know, who doesn't want to sit for 8 hours and listen to Peter Thiel talk about the Antichrist? We'll file that one under who gives a shit. Tech billionaire, so this is from the Washington Post. Tech billionaire Peter Thiel recently warned that Swedish activist Greta Thunberg and critics of technology or artificial intelligence are legionnaires of the Antichrist in private lectures on Christianity that connected government oversight of Silicon Valley to an apocalyptic future. He thinks that if AI is regulated, then that's going to herald the return of the Antichrist. Because if there's one thing that the Bible is incredibly concerned about, is the deregulation of artificial intelligence. It's in there repeatedly, from what I'm told. In the 4 roughly 2-hour lectures, which began last month and culminated Monday at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco, Peter Thiel laid out his religious views to a sold-out audience and told the audience to keep the contents of his lectures off the record. He argued that those who propose limits on technology development not only hinder business, but threaten to usher in the destruction of the United States and an era of global totalitarian rule according to recordings, yada, yada, yada. I don't give 2 shits what Peter Thiel has to say, other than the fact that, the Republican Congress and Senate could very well make him our next dictator. But apart from that, everything's fine. Everything's going swimmingly. New Gallup poll, 62% say the government has too much power. Up from 51% a year ago. This is what you fuckers voted for, so I don't want to hear about it now. Sorry. UPS is disposing. This is crazy. This is crazy. What's the one thing that UPS prides itself on? The timely delivery of your packages anywhere in the world. UPS is now disposing of US-bound packages. They are throwing them away. Thousands of packages bound for the United States shipped by UPS are trapped at hubs across the country, unable to clear the maze of new customs requirements imposed by the Trump administration. As packages flagged for customs issues pile up in UPS warehouses, the company told NBC News that it has begun disposing of some shipments. They're throwing out your packages. UPS is throwing out your packages because Trump won't let your packages through customs. Wow. If you order anything from overseas and it gets shipped by UPS, you're not going to get it because of the Trump administration. Okay, I'm guessing that someone inside the Trump administration, probably Stephen Miller, confused packages being shipped from overseas with immigrants coming from overseas. Stephen Miller probably thinks that all of your inbound packages at UPS are coming here to take your jobs. Oh, wow, man. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I was flooded on a daily basis with text messages from some dipshit from Virginia named Winsome Earl Sears, who apparently is the Republican candidate for governor in that race. Her campaign would text me 8 times a day. And I'm like, stop, unsubscribe, stop. Then I just started responding with really vulgar and profane insults, which was enjoyable for me. But that didn't stop the text messages. But eventually they did stop. So she's running for governor as a Republican in Virginia. And the headline of this article is Republicans go all in on anti-trans messaging, because that's what people really care about today. Stupid people, dumb people, bigots, people who are full of hate, people who are racist, they care about trans issues, anti-trans messaging. Republican gubernatorial nominee Winsome Earl Sears and her conservative allies have gone all in on anti-trans messaging in the Virginia governor's race, launching more frequent attacks and taking those attacks further than Donald Trump's campaign did in 2024. It won't be a one-off escalation. This is just disgusting. It's just disgusting. It is disgusting. It is targeting a section of our population that is less than 1% of our population. People whose lives are already fucking difficult to begin with, man. Hang on, I got some sunshine coming in. All right, there we go. That's a little better. the demonization of trans people in the LGBTQ community over the last few years. I don't even have words for it anymore. It's so disgusting. I've lived in San Francisco and Bay Area for 25 years. We have a huge trans community here. And, there's a trans march every year for Pride Parade. It's a strong community here. And obviously, we have a huge and strong LGBTQ community in San Francisco and throughout the Bay Area. And for these people to be demonized like this by Donald Trump and his administration and by toothless inbred cousin fuckers across the nation whose homes have tires is disgusting to me. It's just disgusting, especially when every time there is a large gathering of Republicans, wherever it may be, they crash Grindr. Every time there is a large gathering of Republicans anywhere in the country, the first thing that happens is they crash Grindr. It happened at Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention a year ago last summer. It happened 2 weeks ago at Charlie Kirk's funeral. They crashed Grindr at a funeral. Republican men crashed Grindr at a funeral. They got there to honor Charlie Kirk, and the first thought that hits their heads was, I got to get on Grindr and get some dick. At a funeral. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, let's see what we got here. Joe Scarborough loses it on Mike Johnson for 5 whole minutes in a shutdown tirade, followed up with a story, the headline of which says, Joe Scarborough still talks to Donald Trump regularly. How Joe and Mika are still on the air is an absolute mystery to me. Just an absolute mystery to me. A Republican congressman, let me see who it is here. I knew it was going to be Buddy Carter. I knew it. I knew it was going to be Buddy Carter, man. Buddy Carter is a Republican from Georgia whose sole purpose in Congress is just to blow as much smoke up Donald Trump's ass as he possibly can. And he is introducing, so the Nobel Peace Prize is voted on by a committee in Norway. Norway, I'm not sure if you're aware, Norway is not part of the United States. It's in Norway, across the Atlantic. GOP Congressman Buddy Carter told a Fox News host this morning that he's introducing a resolution to force the Nobel Committee to award Donald Trump the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. He told Fox Business host Ashley Webster that Trump is the president of peace, and no one could have gotten us to this point that he's gotten us to. Right, with, the genocide in Gaza Strip, the fact that we tried to start a war with Iran earlier this year, and that we're bombing the shit out of Venezuelan boat enthusiasts. If that doesn't say peace, I don't know what does. Buddy Carter continued by saying Joe Biden and his administration didn't even try to achieve peace in the Middle East. They sure as fuck didn't try to stop a genocide. Donald Trump has done that, and I applaud him for that. That's why he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, and that's why I'm introducing a resolution today in Congress that will honor him with the Nobel Peace Prize that Congress does not have the authority to award to anybody. And if need be, we will call for a discharge position on that. Okay. I'm gonna file a discharge position forcing Eagles Pizza in New Albany, Ohio to open up an Eagles Pizza in the Bay Area so that I can get my favorite pizza on the planet, which is Eagles Pizza from New Albany, Ohio. And I only get to get it when I'm back in Ohio, which I was in Ohio last week, and I think I had 3 Eagles Pizzas during that time. Each one was better than the one that came before it. Eagles Pizza in New Albany, Ohio is the best pizza on the planet. That, I think, is a statement that anybody who would argue against that is someone who I would view with a very minimal level of credibility. Anyway, let me see what else do we got here. Yeah, so I haven't dove in to the indictment into Letitia James yet. I'm going to do that later on. I have a list. I got up to so anybody, there's almost 3,000 people here. What I'm doing right now, live on TikTok, it is 9:05 a.m. on Friday morning, October 10th. And there were too many news stories to cover this morning. There were certainly too many news stories for me to do separate videos about. So I went live about 35 minutes ago and just started plowing through all of these news stories and discussing them. It's just kind of a little Friday morning news roundup. And, I don't know. It's been a fun way for me to start the morning. I hope it's been enjoyable for you guys as well. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so later on today, I'm going to do videos about the Insurrection Act. I'm going to do a video on National Security Presidential Memo number 7. So next month, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing Trump's tariff case. I have an opinion from an appellate court that I want to go through. I want to do a video on jury nullification today. I want to do a video on how you have a First Amendment constitutionally guaranteed right to film police and law enforcement officers. That is constitutionally guaranteed, and no state statute can overcome that. Israel has finally announced that the ceasefire is in effect after they delayed it for several hours so that they could blow the shit out of a few more Palestinian civilians yesterday. Let's see. Oh, God. Okay. So 2 of the pages that I read the Washington Post still. It's owned by Jeff Bezos, who is a billionaire. He's like the second, third, or fourth richest guy on the entire planet. If I had that much money and I owned a newspaper, I would be tearing Donald Trump's ass to literal pieces every single day on the front page. Jeff Bezos has become a fart-huffing Trump taint sniffer. And he spiked the editorial board's endorsement of Kamala Harris right before the 2024 election. And so I read the Washington Post. I also read this website called Mediaite. And Mediaite has an opinion columnist named Mark Thiessen, Thiessen. I think he used to be a speechwriter for probably George W. Bush or something like that. But here's a perfect example. When you go to the when you go to the Washington Post op-ed page and you see a headline that just like smacks you in the head because it's incredibly stupid and dumb and vitriolic, before you even look, you can guarantee that opinion piece was written by Mark Thiessen. His opinion piece this morning is titled, "Yes, Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize." That's stupid. Anyway, Mediaite has a guy like that named Isaac Shore, Schorr. If you go to Mediaite and you see a headline that you're just like, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've seen in a week, you can guarantee that article was written by Isaac Shore. And it's fun to go to Isaac Shore's articles on Mediaite and go into the comments and watch people just tear him to absolute literal pieces. It's fucking hilarious. So Mark Thiessen acknowledged this morning that the Washington Post opinion page is now a conservative opinion page. And it's hard to disagree with that because that's what Bezos has done in order to appease Donald Trump. Great. Thiessen's article, "Yes, Donald Trump deserves to win the Nobel Peace Prize," was warmly received by Donald Trump, who wrote in a Truth Social post, "Thank you, Washington Post. Wow. Washington Post columnist David Ignatius also praised Trump's Gaza peace plan on Thursday, saying that Joe Biden could never do that and Donald Trump was able to do that. We'll see. If Donald Trump gets this peace deal done and it lasts and the genocide comes to an end, I'll give him some credit for that. I don't have a problem with that. I respect David Ignatius. He's been a columnist forever. And he's right. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't get a peace deal in place or a ceasefire. But, they're not the president or the vice president anymore either. Let's see what else we have in this morning's news. Norway is bracing for retaliation after not awarding Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. This is from Bloomberg. Now Norway waits. Trump isn't shy about his grudges, as the United Nations learned last month about a decades-old renovation contract, of all things. As he and his people have ratcheted up the peace president rhetoric, emboldened no doubt by a ceasefire in Gaza, Norway has become increasingly worried about the diplomatic and economic fallout from snubbing Donald Trump and not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize. For one, Norway still does not have a trade deal with the United States. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. The other thing that I wanted to mention. Yesterday, late in the day, I'm going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. Thanks again, everybody, for watching this. We had over 3,000 people in here at one point. That's amazing. That's awesome. Again, I'm just doing a Friday morning news wrap up. So late in the day yesterday, a federal judge issued an order preventing Donald Trump from deploying National Guard troops anywhere in the state of Illinois. So no National Guard troops in Chicago, even though a few hundred of them flew in from Texas, and most of those troops looked, shall we say, a bit chonky. So they'll have plenty of time now to enjoy Chicago deep dish pizza, street hot dogs, and things of that nature. Last week, a federal judge in Oregon issued an order preventing Donald Trump from deploying any National Guard troops from anywhere into Portland, Oregon. And that's great. Really? King Tut? Okay, that was funny. I've never seen that one before. But so now we have, Donald Trump's been crowing about sending troops into Portland, Oregon, and Chicago, Illinois, and two separate judges have said, no, you don't get to do that. And Stephen Miller, of course, has accused them of judicial insurrection, which is an oxymoron and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so I guess we're going to see, how far this administration is going to go in ignoring court orders. It'll take time, I guess, for those two orders to make their way up to the Supreme Court shadow docket, and so that the court's conservatives can be like, this is fine. It's fine. He can do whatever he wants. It's okay. And provide no reasoning for that. Charges are expected soon. An indictment is expected soon against Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Those charges are going to be expected to be related to mishandling classified information. And if there's one person in the Trump administration who is a certified expert in mishandling classified information, it's Donald Trump, who was charged with 38 felony counts for violating the Espionage Act by Jack Smith, for stealing classified documents and storing them in the shitter at Mar-a-Lago next to a gold toilet. So that indictment's going to be coming down soon against John Bolton. Okay, let's close it out with this. A new Kaiser Family Foundation poll finds that 59% of Americans disapprove of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy's overall job performance. The other 41% are now dead. I'm kidding. 62% disapprove of his handling of United States vaccine policy. Who gives a shit? I mean, you fuckers voted for this. You voted for this. This is what the United States of America voted for. This is what you voted for. You voted for a health secretary who says that autism is caused by circumcision and Tylenol and is doing away with vaccines left and right. This is what this country voted for. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to have any empathy or sympathy at this point. This country is incredibly racist and misogynistic. It hates black women. And so, of course, it's not going to vote for Kamala Harris. And this is what you get. This is what you get. Bubblegum. You get bubblegum. This is what you get, man. All you Trump humpers, man, this is what you dipshits voted for. So I can't remember who it was, but, you know, who made the statement. So every Trump humper who is tired of paying record high grocery prices and is tired of all of these other things, just sit back and enjoy it, man. This is what you guys voted for. Sit back and enjoy it. All right, it is 9:15 a.m. West Coast time. I've been on for 45 minutes, so I'm going to hop off and go start my day. I hope everybody has an amazing, fun, and safe Friday, as well as this coming weekend. Please be safe. Don't talk to the police. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.